guess that's my new role. I get to say that. Huh?
Give him the gavel right there.
I don't have a gavel, but he might pass it off to me. There we go.
I never had to use it.
Okay, well, you have to be good now or we'll gavel you down. It is my honor to introduce resolution number 7065, resolution of commendation and appreciation to Scott Andrews for distinguished service and outstanding dedication to the Portland Development Commission in the city of Portland. And Patrick Quinton is going to read the entire document. Is that right?
First, we're gonna have to hear testimony first.
Oh, we have to hear testimony.
Yeah, so
okay.
that's okay, but I'll introduce this segment here.
Okay.
But first, congratulations, Chair Kelly. Look forward to working with you, and I've really appreciated getting to know you so far, and it's going to be a good time. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we wanted to take some time to acknowledge everything that has happened under first Commissioner and then Chair Andrews' leadership, and so we've invited a number of people here to come and talk about all the great work that he has done. And I just want to lay out a little bit of what we're going to do here. First off, we have a Melanie. Do we have a loop? We're going to show while people are talking, just a slideshow of the various projects that happened over the past 6 years during Scott's time here on the board. We're going to hear from some folks who are going to talk about Scott, and then we have a little presentation at the end, and then the board members can offer up their own thoughts on their time with Scott, and then we can go to the resolution. And then last, I just want to tell everybody we do have a very informal reception that we organized for staff to say goodbye to Scott, but everybody who participates here is welcome. It's a very public sector type of reception, so don't expect anything high-end here. I'll make a joke at my own expense. Nothing like El Gaucho. But the first person who I'd like to invite to talk about Scott, he probably has worked with Scott the longest on the PDC board and has to leave. So I'll invite our former mayor, Sam Adams, to come up and share his thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, it's my pleasure to be here today to speak in support of this resolution. It wasn't long ago that there was what seemed to be a civil war going on between the Portland City Council and the Portland Development Commission. It wasn't that long ago that Portland and the Portland region were facing some of the worst impacts of one of the worst economic recessions since World War II. And it has long been a problem in this city that has been diversifying, that its governmental institutions, despite best individual efforts as institutions, were not including the diversity of this and growing diversity of this great city in its work. So that was the foundation on which Scott helped lead the city in his role as chair of the Portland Development Commission. I guess I'd add a few other things. A very driven mayor who had a long agenda and who also sought to make the largest organizational change in PDC's recent history, at least my memory of history, by creating a Bureau of Housing and having the Portland Development Commission focus on economic development, and having the combined efforts of the city led by PDC to put together the first economic development strategy, a tough strategy, the first economic development strategy in 16 years, with a goal of creating 10,000 jobs. I think that the first 6 months, the average job loss for the region, I recall, was anywhere between 15 and 30,000 jobs a month. We wanted to grow jobs by a net 10,000. So that was the basis, the context for which Scott was selected as chair of the Portland Development Commission. I honestly didn't think if he would take it because it was daunting, but he did. And he not only sort of helped rebuild the aircraft of economic development and the Portland Development Commission in mid-flight, but it will go down as, I think, during your time as chair, as one of the most productive times for the Portland Development Commission in history till this point. You have the opportunity, and I think have everything one needs to even top that further, Chair Kelly. But Scott, I'll help. Hopefully, they'll give me an opportunity to talk more tomorrow night. But the pictures flashing up here, incredibly appropriate. What behind every picture is, you know, families and individuals, entrepreneurs and workers, a hell of a lot of unemployed people that were counting on you and your team and the team at PDC's success. And you thrived, you succeeded. And as a Portlander, I want you to know how much I appreciate that. And as someone who worked with you and learned so much from you, I want you to know how grateful I am to you. So, thank you.
Thank you. So you have to leave, is that what I heard?
I have to leave. I have a small nonprofit to run.
Yes, small. So I was going to hold my comments to the end, but I want to thank you too for, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Depended on the day, if I remember correctly.
But you know, actually I was appointed under Mayor Potter. So I've had the opportunity to serve under 3 mayors, which I think is probably a first in history, since Ira actually, although he served for 15 years, was all under the auspices of 1 mayor. But the adoption of the city's economic development plan was brilliant. I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time. It set a path forward for us to reorganize and gave us the ability to work really closely with City Council to be able to get things done. Sometimes difficult times bring people together, and I think that happened in this case. And I have to tell you, I had a lot of fun. We had some interesting trips. He called me one Saturday and asked me if I could go to Spain on Monday. We didn't go till Tuesday, but then we were home on Thursday.
Right.
And I had a chance to sit in the Saks Fifth Avenue conference room in Chicago with the CEO, and also in New York City. Mayor of the city of Portland is sitting here talking to me, making some kind of investment in the city, and it was really
Trip to New York City was we'd been given our marching orders by the downtown retail folks that we need to reinvigorate both Saks Fifth Avenue locations. You recall they had the men's store on the corner of Pioneer Place and now where the Apple store is. But we'd been trying to get a meeting with H&M because we knew they were looking at the Portland area, and we wanted this first new big concept of H&M to go in that location. And we could not get them on the phone. Well, they wouldn't return our call. So we just cold called them, and it's probably an overstatement to say that I distracted the security guard's attention so that Scott could march through the door and I would follow him. That's probably an overstatement because that would be wrong. But whatever the legal version of that is, that's what we did. And I really appreciated your gumption. So.
And the CEO came down. I mean, what is he going to do? The mayor of Portland is in the lobby to see you, and he's going to say, no, I'm too busy?
Yeah.
So we did get a meeting. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
So one of the stories that was mentioned was the story of flying to Spain for to show our love for Iberdrola. And so I'd like Kevin Lynch to come up from Iberdrola to say a few words about Scott.
Thank you, Chair Kelly and members of the commission. My name is Kevin Lynch, and I'm the head of external affairs for Iberdrola Renewables, located here in Portland, Oregon, and we intend and will be located here in Portland, Oregon for quite some time to come, thanks to the work of Scott and Mayor Adams. I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to say, and at the outset, Chair Kelly, everything that I've ever done with you has come in on budget and ahead of schedule. So just keep at it, okay? Since reference was made to a trip to Spain, I will tell you that in my line of business, I travel a lot. I did an overnight trip Monday, Tuesday to Minneapolis. I did one the week before to Sacramento. I've gone to Boston overnight. I've gone to DC often overnight. I have one time in my life gone to Madrid, Spain for an overnight trip. And I did that with Scott Andrews and Mayor Sam Adams several years ago. Our company has settled here beginning in 2003 when we had, I think, 12 employees in the Portland area. We now have about 350. And they are virtually without exception, in fact, without exception, they're well compensated. They are virtually without exception in professional employees, meteorologists, environmental specialists, engineers, finance people, you name it, we have it. And our business, I like to think, is the kind of business that Portland has been trying to attract and retain for many years. We had a 10-year lease on our space in the Pearl. It's not an easy business to move, but it was something that we started to contemplate several years ago. And thinking of places like Houston, Texas, which is the energy hub of America, of all sorts of energy, Chicago, which has become, which is the Windy City for a good reason, a good theme, and a few other places like Boston, which is a lot closer to Madrid, our parent company's offices, than Portland is. But the mayor and Scott made a concerted effort to get our attention as a company here to tell us they wanted us to stay here and to stay here for a long time, and that we ought to talk about how to make that happen. So I also got a phone call about whether I could, on very short notice, spend an evening in Madrid, Spain with the mayor of my home city and the chair of the PDC and the CEO of our global renewable energy company. He's responsible for managing about a $15 billion company, to see if we could open up a conversation about what it would take to get us to stay here. So we did that. We had a very good bonding meeting, I think cemented the relationship that Portland has with our company, enjoyed a lovely Basque dinner, details of which I won't get into right here, right now, since we're on the record. But it was a great evening, and I have had, in the subsequent passing years, a number of conversations with the CEO of Iberdrola Renovables, who has told me what an important discussion that was, and how much Portland reminds him of Bilbao, Spain, his hometown, and that it is a place that he wants to be. A lot of that latter comment is because of things that have been done here by this commission and by the city over the last 10 or 15 years. what a wonderful place, you know, a city that can evoke that kind of reaction from the head of a large corporation like that is a compliment in itself. But I learned from that meeting and from some subsequent interactions with Scott, not only is he a very good businessman, but he has tremendous diplomatic skills. And those have served the city very, very well. They've served our company very well. And I guess what I would tell you in closing is that of the 350 or so employees that continue to work at Iberdrola Renewables on Northwest Cooch Street, on two sides of Northwest Cooch Street, every single one of them, without exception, is thrilled to be working in Portland, Oregon, and very happy to know that we are going to be staying here for quite some time. Thank you.
And for the record, I want it to be known that I paid for my share of the dinner. I got the canceled check to prove it.
So, so as you can see, we invited people to come speak who had kind of been through kind of war stories with Scott, and so you'll see this kind of pattern emerging. But there was no project that took up more of Scott's time, and I hate to say is still unfinished, than the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. But he spent talk about diplomatic skills. He spent a lot of time negotiating between 4 different parties to try and make something happen. And I know that he developed very, very strong relationships with people involved. And one of them here is here, Chris Oxley from the Trailblazers.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of council, former chair. It was the most unceremoniously handed gavel I think I've ever seen, but it was interesting. Again, my name is Chris Oxley. I'm the Vice President General Manager of the Rose Quarter for the Portland Trailblazers. I'm honored to be invited to speak here today in favor of this resolution to be read. I had the opportunity over the last several years to work with Scott directly, predominantly on one of the most confounding dilemmas in our city, determining the future of the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. While that final solution does still elude us, clearly, the journey is sometimes the reward, and as stakeholders, we clearly learned a lot about not just the process, but about each other and how to form a strong public-private relationship. Scott brought a lot of amazing array of skills and assets to this discussion. A few stick out in particular. For me, perspective is everything, and when Scott Andrews looks you in the eye and says, "This is the most complicated negotiation and set of agreements I have ever seen," you sit up, you take notice, and you work a little harder. We had the benefit of that perspective. His leadership was key. It goes without saying in this room, but public-private partnerships are difficult, particularly when there's multiple parties on either side of the negotiating table. And a fair amount of very well-seasoned risk mitigators with vice grip clamps on their position. Scott had the unique ability, I think, to create leverage through leadership and trust. It causes you to be on your best behavior as well when there's a role model in the room. That was very helpful in this negotiation, just to be clear. His commitment is unmatched. Always available, yes. Lots of early morning phone calls, lots of late night phone calls. I recall a time when he was driving to dinner on vacation and I was standing in between 2 Amtrak cars and we talked for 45 minutes on strategy on how to move things forward. Always there. But you know, beyond that, it was his determination, tenacity, and unwavering optimism that set Scott apart and inspired everybody to get things done. And it was very meaningful for me and I think for the group. These are traits that are important, and there's plenty to talk about. What made Scott a pivotal figure in our partnership and a trusted resource for everyone in the room today is during his tenure was emblematic of what Scott brought to the table. Very important. I had the benefit of learning from Scott. Most importantly, I would say I personally aspire to Scott's exceedingly high level of commitment to his community through his public service and his board work. And also being able to accomplish great things in private business and to give equally upon those is quite remarkable. Of course, with all that said, there's still one great divide between us. You are a Chevy Camaro guy. I am a Ford Mustang guy. And that's simply not reconcilable, if you know what I mean. It was very hard for me to ride shotgun to lunch that you paid for yourself, just for the record, just to be clear. So on behalf of the Rose Quarter, on behalf of the Portland Trail Blazers, and we hope to see you again and again, but most importantly on behalf of everyone that participated in the VMC planning process, I offer my compliments to you and my appreciation for your years of service to this commission. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, we were that close. I mean, that close. The legal documents were 99.99% complete. There were like 2 tiny things to get done when the Winterhawk sanctions came down. And it just made the Winterhawks owner feel like it was not a real good time to put $10 million when he was getting whacked by the league. So I'm hopeful that a decision will be made this year, and at least we'll all know where we're going.
If we don't have a foundation of understanding, at least from all of that work, then it was for naught, and I believe that we do. And there's an opportunity there, and it's based on the work that we have. So I'm firmly a believer in that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott.
So another project that thankfully Scott was able to see through, certainly through its first success, and there's more to come, was our work on the Burnside Bridgehead. When Scott started on the board, I think we were at our lowest moment in that project, and I think we all know how that's turned out. Jonathan Malson is here from Beam Development to share his thoughts.
He's too young.
Thanks for saying that. Chair Kelly, commissioners, thanks for, and Patrick, thanks for having me here. I have to first say that it's been a real honor working with PDC staff. I mean, we've worked on multiple projects with PDC since I've been at Beam, both the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, Globe Hotel renovation that Dr. Gaeta will speak to, but also the Burnside Bridgehead framework planning process that you tracked and were involved with, and also the redevelopment of the East Side Exchange and moving on to another project across the street at Block 75. So I really want to express my appreciation and gratitude to PDC staff, but it is incredibly important to have vision to drive what it is that we're going to do. And I really believe that you understood the importance of public-private partnerships in challenging markets. And we were at a point when we started looking at the Burnside Bridgehead and the East Side Exchange, formerly Convention Plaza, and the private lenders and investors could not wrap their head around building spec office when no office was being developed. We saw an opportunity. You understood the vision, and you supported us through that. And without your support, it wouldn't have happened. And I'm so thrilled to be able to say that we're 95, 96% leased. We've achieved our goals as it related to the economic development aspect of the project. We've leased primarily to clean tech, software, digital media agencies. We have a bustling community of creative office users in the building. And I think that a testament to our success at the East Side Exchange is what's happening around not only at the Burnside Bridgehead, but also throughout the Central East Side. But specifically at the Bridgehead, I think all of the projects, all the other properties that have been sold at fair market value or are in contract to be sold. So there's a lot of exciting projects yet to be realized. And so without your leadership and your vision, none of that would have been possible. And so we're going to miss working with you here, but we expect and look forward to seeing you around. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I think everybody knows that Scott has a long history with the Portland Business Alliance. I think you used to be chair of the Portland Business Alliance. Well, is there an organization where you weren't the chair? But I think Scott carried with him into this role a real commitment to obviously the whole city, but a focus on the downtown retail environment. And once again, people can forget now that we have such a vibrant downtown, what things were like 5-6 years ago downtown, and so who's always made it a priority for us to invest in downtown with a particular eye toward bringing people downtown. And Marion Haynes is here to speak on behalf of the PBA. I know that she'll probably say this, but Sandy would definitely have been here, but she just began her first sabbatical, I don't know, ever. Yeah. And she was not changing her dates, even for you, Scott. So
Sandy has got a big smile wherever she is right now, trust me.
Well, thank you very much, Chair Kelly, members of the commission, Marion Haynes with the Portland Business Alliance. And yes, Sandy would like to be here, but the word France has come up a lot lately, and so I think she's well on her way there. PBA does have a good partnership with PDC. We do a lot on the downtown retail and do appreciate Scott's leadership related to that. I worked at the Alliance back when Scott was chair, and in my experience, he's so dedicated to this city, and his personal commitment and involvement really shines through. I mean, when you sign up to do something, you're truly all in. And I think some of the stories that we've heard really acknowledge that about you. And it's so important for the leadership here. It has been a difficult time while you were here with the recession, diminishing resources for the agency itself, but you've been able to really build something here and do great things, not only for downtown, but throughout the city and all the neighborhoods. So that balanced approach has been, while we appreciate the focus on downtown, it truly is the whole city has benefited from your leadership and the things that PDC has been able to do. So you have had a long and distinguished tenure here, and really a heartfelt thanks from the Portland Business Alliance for everything you do for this entire community. I would also note, as long as we're acknowledging fun facts about Scott, something that Sandy told me before she left, that we have before us a man who is internationally ranked in Angry Birds. So just another feather in the cap. So thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Last time I checked, I think there were 4.7 million people who'd played Angry Birds HD, and my rank, I'm number 11. That's what I do on airplanes.
Okay, after that. So another project that became a labor of love for Scott was the renovation of the former Globe Hotel that became the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, now one of our neighbors here in Old Town and a great partner of PDC. Michael Gate is here, Dr. Michael Gate is here to share his thoughts and something else with Scott.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. Good afternoon. Scott, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a real honor to be a part of this process, recognizing the great efforts that you have expended in breathing new life into the city. And I'd like to begin by pointing out that if it all starts with a dream. And back in 2005, as part of our strategic planning process at the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, one of our major strategic initiatives was to relocate and to build a new home. Had no idea what that meant or what the journey was going to be and where it was going to take us. But ultimately, as I got connected to Brad Melson and Beam Development, one day we were sitting and talking, and I had been looking at a number of sites. It started looking at decommissioned schools, and the problem there was that most of the furniture was about this high, and no, that's not going to work. And then we looked way out on the west side and thought about the possibility of getting professional office space out there. And I said, you know, this is really nice, but it really is taking us out of the mainstream. We need to find something that is more centrally located. And in conversation with Brad Melson, we started talking about Old Town Chinatown. And we came down and we identified about a dozen spots, and I'll never forget this. At a board meeting, I talked about the opportunities that would be presented in Old Town Chinatown. And I said, and here is the list. And one of my board members said, okay, give me your top 3. And so I said, well, the first one is already taken. That's the where the U of O is. Mercy Corps is a nice spot. And I said, where the old Import Plaza building was. And we landed on that. And I can't tell you how often I have conversations with people. And when they say, now, where are you located? And I say, in the old Globe Hotel, the Import Plaza. And I see their eyes light up, and they start to recount memories from when they were younger and experiences that they had going to the Import Plaza. And so we started with the vision. And we said, okay, that is our vision. Here is our current reality over in Southeast Portland. How are we going to get there? And through the help of Scott and the Portland Development Commission, I mean, we really created a trajectory that was not straight. We went through the economic downturn, and it had to be put into a holding pattern. But Scott stuck behind us and was cheering us on the whole way. I really would like to say that as a part of any journey that an institution, an organization, or an individual takes in life, from where you start to where you want to get to, you have a number of people that cross your path. And if you're lucky, or if you're blessed, you get a very special person to cross your path. And we had that with Scott. And I thank you on behalf of the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine for your confidence in us, your trust, and your willingness to guide us and assist us as we went through a very circuitous journey, Scott. And on behalf of the 250 students that come into the building every day, and the fact that we have over 100 staff and faculty, and we have 20,000 patient visits a year, thank you for helping us to breathe life into a century-old building. Thank you for allowing us to become part of the process, part of your vision to help revivify and breathe life into Old Town Chinatown. Thank you for letting us be a part of that. We're very, very happy to be and very privileged to be a part of that. And we would like to provide you with a little memento of our appreciation.
This is my favorite kind of a development, quite frankly. It's one that it fits the location so well that the ramifications, the leverage from it go on and on and on. How the Oriental College of Medicine couldn't be in Old Town Chinatown was just totally beyond me. But Dr. Gaeta did learn that development's not an easy process. And I came up with a saying after talking to him: every good development dies at least 9 times. And you pick yourself up off the floor, you pull the team together and say, how can I get this done? And the folks at PNCA are learning about that right now. But I liken this, my favorite development that my company's done is the Hilton Executive Tower. And not only is it a success financially, but if you remember, the Greyhound bus station was there, and it was a place that people would walk a block around. I mean, it was a hole in downtown Portland. So this is a very similar thing, and we're so lucky to have you. Thank you very, very much.
So we might get an extra speaker or two who show up, but we're going to move on. And what I'd like to do is just offer my own thoughts and thanks to you, and make a presentation. But you know, public leaders are often defined by the era in which they serve, and you know, when you get mentioned now with Ira Keller, I think it's no more true than that. Previous PDC board chairs like Ira Keller and others, they presided in an era in which they could physically transform the city. And when you walk around the city, and I do this all the time when I give tours to people, you show them all the landmarks. So much of it had PDC involvement in it, and so much of the legacy of the people who served in the commission at that time is embodied in that. And sometimes, you know, there's the not so good side of physically changing the city, and we live with that history as well. But I think the past 6 years have been different. In the past 6 years, I think will be remembered not just for the Great Recession, as Mayor Adams talked about, that altered the market conditions for development, but I think more so for the transformed local economy that emerged from the recession. And this, I think will be your legacy. You know, given your background in real estate, I think it would have been very easy for you to have tried to preserve the model that had led to so much development prior to the recession in the late 90s and the early 2000s. But instead, you understood that things had changed, that the rules had changed permanently, and you, as the mayor mentioned, you guided this agency through a profound transformation that not only got projects done during this transformation, but it also allowed us to make a significant impact on the long-term trajectory of our economy. And so during the depths of the recession, as you can see on these slides, so during the depths of the recession, we undertook the public projects, the projects that we could get done, parks, and we built affordable housing, and we invested in infrastructure. We have streetcar up here. People forget how much we even invested in streetcar during the recession. We also supported institutions that had the ability to develop during the recession, institutions like OCOM, like Mercy Corps. And this is how we got projects done. But then we were also instructed to be ready for the opportunities that came along that would create jobs. And so that's why you hopped on a plane to Spain to keep your Berjoli here, or we put $8 million into Vestas. We were ready to act when those opportunities happened. And then once again, in the middle of recession, we took risks on things that were not short-term gains, but really were long-term plays, like the Portland Seed Fund and our entrepreneurship initiatives. And in the middle of the recession, when money was tightest, we actually reinvented our neighborhood economic development approach. We started doing the neighborhood prosperity initiative districts, and we altered the way that our economic opportunity initiative program worked to support small businesses. These are not the kind of things that you would do for short-term gains. These were the kind of initiatives that you would take on because you believed in the long-term direction of this city, of this economy. And now we're sitting here with this booming economy, internationally recognized, and we're in the midst of one of the largest building booms that many of us have ever seen. And as you like to say, it's easy to forget that we ever had a recession. I think it's also easy to forget that during the middle of the recession, we took explicit actions to help set the economy on this course that we're on now, and that we will benefit, I think will benefit for generations. And so hopefully when we update the history of PDC that sits out there in that lobby, we'll do justice to this era, just like we've done justice to the previous eras. But for now, I just want to say personally, and on behalf of all the staff at PDC, and if I can do so, on behalf of all the residents of the city of Portland, all the future residents of the city of Portland, thank you. Thank you for your service. It has been an incredible honor and pleasure to work for you this past 6 years. And if I can invite Jonathan back up again, as a small way to demonstrate our appreciation for your work, we would like, with Beam, to have a plaque installed on
At the East Side
East Side Exchange
in the
building.
plaza.
In the plaza. So I think we have a mock-up of it. This isn't the final thing, but this plaque will be installed on the would it be a south side of the building?
Yeah, on the south side of the building in the plaza. It's got a public walkway, and there'll be Block 67 will be right next to it, and yeah, we're excited to have it installed.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now I guess I'll read the resolution and then I'll turn it over to the board here. Whereas J. Scott Andrews was appointed as a member of the Portland Development Commission by Mayor Sam Adams and confirmed by the Portland City Council effective August 13, 2008. Whereas Scott Andrews was elected chair of PDC on June 24, 2009. Whereas Scott Andrews' tenure as chair is exceeded only by that of PDC founding board chair Ira Keller. Whereas Scott Andrews has served with honor and distinction as a champion of the City of Portland's 5-year economic development strategy, which helped Portland emerge from the worst recession in more than 60 years, created more than 40,000 new jobs, and attracted more than $1 billion in new private investment. Whereas Scott Andrews was instrumental in delivering numerous development projects to the City of Portland, including the new headquarters locations for Vestas, Daimler Trucks North America, and Iberdrola, the opening of new homes for the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine and the Portland office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the redevelopment of the Burnside Bridgehead. Whereas Scott Andrews displayed remarkable dedication to the development of Portland neighborhoods and the quality of life for Portland residents through PDC's Neighborhood Economic Development Strategy, the Neighborhood Prosperity Initiative, the Main Streets Program, and the Lens 5-Year Action Plan, and through investments in neighborhood parks and infrastructure such as Director Park, Dawson Park, and the Fields Park, as well as the East Side Streetcar, Lents and Gateway Streetscapes, and the Max Green and Orange lines. Whereas Scott Andrews has worked tirelessly as a champion for fair and equitable business and workforce practices to ensure minorities, women, and emerging small businesses have a place in all of PDC's operations, and by extension, the economic growth and prosperity of the city. Whereas Scott Andrews volunteered significant time away from his business and his family, rarely missing a meeting, and to ensure PDC's mission and vision for the city would be achieved. Whereas Scott Andrews has ably represented the city as chair of PDC here in Oregon, across the nation, and internationally. And whereas Scott Andrews has diligently and forthrightly carried out his civic duties on behalf of PDC and in the best interest of the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that PDC individually and collectively commends Scott Andrews for his service to PDC and to the constituency of the City of Portland that PDC represents. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you. So we would entertain a motion for adoption of this resolution, and then we'll have comments from the commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
So, Mr. Mullis, would you like to make any comments prior to our vote?
First, thanks to whoever thought of doing the loop with all the projects that we've collectively been able to accomplish over the last 7 or 8 years. I think we're all results-oriented people, and so we're always thinking about what's the next one, and sometimes don't spend enough time looking back and at least taken 10 minutes to go, wow, we actually did get something done, we accomplished something. So I think that was really helpful. One of the things I really appreciate about this board is how the different, the balance that it has and the different perspectives. We all come from different backgrounds, we all bring different skill sets to the table, and I think that helps. Some of the things that have been mentioned a little bit, I'm going to drill down a little bit deeper, but you know, we worked very hard to get projects out the door during these tough times. One of the friends that I made at the Bricklayers Union is a signatory mason contractor, still in business. In 2007, going into 2008, when the crash was going on, and I think if people remember back then, for months we were spiraling downward, and nobody knew where the bottom was or when exactly we were going to hit it. It was pretty scary times. But he went from having 150 people on the payroll and 9 months of work on the books, and a month later, he had 25 people on the payroll finishing up the projects that hadn't been shuttered and no work on the books. Pretty scary times, and so the actions that we took to get projects out the door, like the Bud Clark Commons and the FBI building, and your remarks earlier, Scott, about a project dies at least 9 times, that FBI building, and we'd come in here and we'd go, I think we're almost there. And 2 weeks later, we go, no, we slid back down the hill. Well, we're going to try it this way, and I think we're almost there. No, back down the hill we went. We did that so many times, I don't think I could count them. And it got built and it got done. And those jobs, I would say literally kept some of the people that worked on them, it kept them in their houses. It provided enough hours for them to qualify for health insurance, so they didn't lose their health insurance for them and their families. I mean, we're talking very meaningful things to very real people. So I want to thank you, Scott, for your efforts and your leadership over the last several years. It's made a difference in a lot of real people's lives and in this city. So thank you.
Commissioner Dixon.
Okay, I didn't know this was going to be a tear fest today. I'm just going to, since so many people have already said such great comments, and I've made a lot of comments just in the previous meeting since I found out that Chair Andrews was going to be leaving. I'm going to keep my comments a little bit on the briefer side today, but just from the perspective of a board member, I used to be the newest, but I'm no longer get to claim that title. When I first came on the commission, I felt comfortable to be on this board because of Scott Andrews. He brought a level of just calmness and peace and just good mentorship to someone like me who has never been on a board before, and really helped me through this process. So I think of him as a mentor, a board mentor. And he represents everything that people said. He always answers your calls when you call him. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I literally rack my brain sometimes. Does he sleep at night or does he not work? How does he manage all that he has to do? And he still answers your calls, and he still meets with you if you need to, you know, have a lunch or go over a discussion. I mean, he's always available. And he inspires people within the city to have to give more because of how much he does. It'll be kind of nice actually not having him, because now we'll get to kind of take a break and a breather. Sometimes I think with his field trips that he does, I know Commissioner Kelly is just going to totally keep up the same level of expectation. But, you know, the field trips, and he's always scoping out, you know, what the project, he's just the consummate professional. And he is exactly what it takes to be a phenomenal leader. I mean, his ego is in check, which I love. He listens to all viewpoints, and he actually cares about us, the board members, and what our perspective and what we think. That's important to him when he makes a lot of the decisions that he has to make. So I can't say enough about how much I admire him, and I am truly going to miss him, but I'm glad to know he's in this city and he's a phone call away, and this city is a better place because of Scott Andrews. And I'm glad to know he's going to get some honor, and this building now will never be torn down. because it has this, this sign and plaque. So this is great. Thank you so much.
So I knew Scott just a little bit prior to coming on the PDC commission, and certainly knew of his reputation in the community, and the last 6 months really coming to understand the contribution that he's made, not just to PDC, and he just told me that he's going off to the LifeWorks board too, and that's an organization I've supported and know how important it is. And it just also reminds me that I think very few people in our city understand the level of service and commitment that a person like Scott has delivered to our city. And it's actually kind of frustrating to me because I kind of want to just, tell everybody. Do you citizens understand what this guy has done for our city and how important his contribution has been? And the amount of hours that he's put in. I asked him, like, how many hours do you put in? He told me, and I was, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
That's kind of intimidating. And it's intimidating to follow in his shoes because the bar is set so high, and in so many ways, not the time commitment by itself, but by the integrity, by the leadership. It's very good to know that he's expressed a number of times that he's here for, he's going to be here. He'll be a phone call away to get some advice. And I don't think there's an adequate way for this city or for any of us to honor Scott Andrews. I think he's really, really quite a guy. And with that, I will call for a vote on the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No
Yeah.
opposed?
Charles isn't here.
All those opposed?
Well, let me make a couple comments, and I will try to be brief too. And there's a lot of things I could say, obviously, but mostly what I want to say is thank you. I mean, thank you for spending the time to be with me this afternoon. But I said no to being on the commission about 8 times before Sam took me out and kind of twisted my arm. And it's hard to say no when the mayor says that your city needs you, and that they need your talent. So I told him at the time, all right, you've convinced me, but there's 2 people that I have to go talk to before I can say okay. The first is my wife, and the second is my partners. And my wife isn't here tonight, but she'll be with us tomorrow. But I can't thank her enough. Weekends, vacations, I asked her to put her fingers in her ear on car trips. You put a lot of hours in, but it's not 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and she put up with a lot. My partners, the same, and not only was I not in the office and not able to be a part of some of the things, but there were projects that and listings that we couldn't take just because it wasn't appropriate given my position. So they made quite a sacrifice, and I really need to thank them. This commission, I am so proud to have worked with everybody, and not only the current folks, but Steve Strauss and Bertha Ferran. We've always come at it, and Charles really taught me this, that this isn't a political environment. And I think we've done a great job of being able to focus on each individual item and decide what's best for that item. And there's no vote trading. There's no, I'm going to help you with this if you'll help me with that. And I think that's really remarkable. The ethic behind it is fantastic, and we all have different perspectives and different points of view, and it's terrific, and I can't thank you guys enough for helping us. The mayors that I worked with, big support, a lot of fun. Also fun to be in a position to be one of the few people that can tell the mayor no and not get killed for it. What are they going to do, fire me? And the city commissioners really appreciated the relationships that we were able to build. I was told when the city became our budget committee, it was going to be a disaster for PDC, and when housing moved, it was going to be a disaster for housing. And I didn't think either was the case. It hasn't been. When housing moved, it gave our board and staff the bandwidth to really deal with economic development issues, and just at the right time. And frankly, being the budget committee, city council is much more engaged on a monthly basis, on a daily basis in terms of what's going on, rather than once a year hearing about what it is that we do and getting upset. They hear all of the time, and they're interested all of the time, and they're asking all of the time. So we get down to probably the most important folks, and that are the folks here at PDC. And I took the position, my company built Crown Plaza in the South Auditorium District. It was the first building built in that urban renewal area. We have not done anything since. That's 1970. But I know, as I drive around and look at, you know, Pioneer Place, Pioneer Square, not just downtown, but Cascade Station, it just goes on and on and on and on in terms of things that wouldn't have happened without PDC. And so I wanted to be a part of making sure that we're spending the citizens' money as wisely as possible and having a real effect. And the PDC staff do an absolutely incredible job. You see what has been accomplished over the last 6 years as we've gone from 230 to 95 people without dropping the ball. I can tell you on behalf of all these commissioners, it's no fun laying people off, because we know they have families, they have houses. On the other side of the coin, we had to size the organization to the revenues that were coming in. So we did that, and I appreciate the help, and I look forward to thanking the staff at the end. I just want to end by saying the most amazing thing that I learned, and you're probably going to find this interesting, was the importance of the social equity programs that we put on here. I moved to Portland when I was 12, went to Lincoln High School, went to University of Oregon. All of my friends are well-educated and Caucasian and do quite well. And I never considered myself, thinking down on folks from other races. But I didn't realize until I came here how unlevel the playing field is, and how difficult it is that if you don't come from, a traditional family whose goal is to get you to college and is pushing you to study and has you in the right environment, how difficult it is. And we can't, frankly, we can't do enough to probably level that field. We do a lot here, the city does a lot, but there's a lot more to happen. And it isn't just from a do-good standpoint, it's that our city wouldn't be a place that we'd want to live over time if everybody didn't have an opportunity to succeed. And that's the most powerful thing that I'm going to take from this board. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to look forward to a little extra time, but I'm going to miss everybody here as well. And I'm going to miss being Chair Andrews.
I don't know if there's a precedent for this, but what about a standing ovation for this guy? We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.
But thank you for asking. When I was a kid, I really didn't like it. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it too. Yeah, yeah, I do. A little bit, yeah, you'll probably see more of it. For better or for worse.